Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com. The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, folks, that is the theme song for the More Money Show. I'm economist Steve Moore. Thanks so much for joining this weekend. We are live. We are in color. We might try to get to some calls at the end of the show, but we're pretty packed with great guests coming up. I'm just going to open by saying I feel so much better today than I did a few weeks ago about where this economy is headed. This is a show where we talk about the economy, we talk about business, we talk about finance, we talk about how you can make more money. And I'm telling you, we've seen a dramatic turnaround in the last month or so in the direction of this economy. Obviously, most of you saw yesterday or read the headlines this morning that we got a blockbuster jobs report yesterday, thankfully, with counting the adjustments and revisions to the numbers from previous months, well over 200,000 jobs, which is really a great number given the fact that we actually have a contracting labor market. And so these are really good numbers. And what I really like about this is where the jobs are. We are in the midst of a construction boom in this country. We are in the midst of a manufacturing boom in this country. These are made in America jobs where people are making things. And at the very time that Democrats have been talking about how nothing is ever made in America anymore, we dominate technology. We're doing great in construction. We're doing great in transportation. There's road building going on. Data centers are a major source of new construction around the country. We're seeing factories being built. A lot of this goes back to the Trump tax cut, the big, beautiful bill. As many of you know, Larry Kudlow and Art Laffer and I wrote the very first version of that bill back in, January 2008. So that's going on, 8 years ago or so. We helped write that bill for Donald Trump, and it is having an enormous positive impact on the economy. So very proud of how that's working. Every single Democrat in Congress, every single one of them voted against it. So the average family would be paying about $2,500 more taxes if the Democrats had their way and brought that tax bill down. We would not have no tax on tips. We would not have no tax on overtime. We would not have the ability for companies to write off some of these expenses for investment here in the United States. One of the reasons we're having an investment boom is we cut the taxes for businesses when they build facilities here, plants, equipment, machinery, when they invest in R&D. These are all the seed corns of a growing economy, and the economy is growing. Again, I think we're going to see 3 to 4% growth for the third quarter. Given the fact we've had this oil shock, these are enormously positive numbers. So this is a strong economy. I'm going to give it a B, maybe a B plus, which is incredible because we're still facing $90 to $100 barrel oil. When that oil price comes down, and it's going to probably, if it comes down, it'll probably come down slowly. But when it does, that will be an additional stimulus to the economy. So feeling very good about things. And I'm going to say this, I think, and I said this on the Hannity show last night on Fox News, that there are three things that really have happened in Trump's second term that have really realigned the economy. One is what I was just talking about, the Trump tax cut. And, I don't understand Democrats. I was on CNN a few nights ago with a Democratic congresswoman. She kept calling it the big ugly bill. I'm like, what's ugly about it, Congresswoman? You don't want people to have a tax cut for their family. You don't want American businesses to invest here in the United States. You want more tax on tips. And she didn't have any response to that, but that's what the Democrats voted for. So you have the big, beautiful bill, which has been a huge stimulus to the economy. Then you have the deregulation that Trump has done, which has saved, by some calculations, $1 trillion in reducing needless rules and regulations on American businesses so they can get down to making profits and hiring workers, which is exactly what they're doing. And then, of course, you have the drill, baby, drill strategy, the all-in, all-America energy policy, oil, gas, coal, nuclear power. When appropriate, we can use wind and solar power, everything. We have to use all our energy so that we're not reliable. We're not reliant, that is, on the Middle East and countries like Iran and Russia. So we're doing very well as a country. My line has been that the U.S. economy right now is hotter than the New York Knicks. I know some of you in the New York area might not agree with that. By the way, that was one hell of a basketball game last night. Congratulations to the Knicks. I'm a Chicagoan, so I'm not a big fan of the Knicks. I'm a Bulls fan. But that is a team that's won, 12 games in a row, which is astonishing. I think it's 12. So I'm here to tell you we have an American economy that is red hot, and it's getting better every week. And I know the polls don't reflect this. I know a lot of you listening say, well, doesn't Steve Moore how much steak costs, how much it costs to fill up your tank? Yes, I know. And I'm frustrated by that too. But I'm telling you, when we have Kevin Warsh coming in as the Fed secretary, he's going to help bring inflation down. So this is an all systems go economy. It is firing on all cylinders. Things are going to get better. That is my message to you folks, and I'm going to stick with it. We have a great show lined up. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the elections that happened this week and what they mean for America. So stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes. This is The More Money Show.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is The More Money Show. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I can't believe it's June already. That's so amazing. It feels like it was just Easter a couple of weeks ago. Time is flying by, but we have two great guests coming up. We have John Fund. You all know John from his many, many years at the Wall Street Journal. You see him on Fox News all the time. He writes with National Review. He works with me at Unleashed Prosperity. He's one of the top political minds in the country. And Tom Del Beccaro. Tom had the thankless job of being the Republican chairman of in the state of California for the Republican Party. That's a very tough job, and he did a great job of it. He has many books, and he's a political expert. My favorite book that I wanted to mention is, I think, the latest book. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. And I mention that because it's so perfect for you and your kids to understand the lessons of the American civilization, because that's what 250 is all about. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. John, I would like to start with you, if I may. We've now had many months of elections, primary elections, and we had a big election in California earlier this week. So far, what would you say is the mood of the voters? As I look at sort of the polling and some of the results we've seen, Republicans aren't too popular, but Democrats aren't too popular either.
Well, the growing mood in California right now is complete frustration with the fact that it's the only state in the country that can't seem to count votes.
Right, exactly. Are they still counting votes?
For 35 days, they will be counting votes. Some counties are not releasing any more ballots until next week sometime.
Wow.
There's something like 30 or 40% of the vote out, and that's because California...
But wait, hold on, John, hold on just one second. That election was Tuesday. That was almost a week ago.
Well, everything has sped up in our lives. We get things faster and faster, except for one thing, the voting count. Lots of states, Florida, Texas, others, count votes quickly. California sends a ballot to every registered voter. And by the way, 900,000 of those registrations have been inactive for at least two federal elections. So lots of shenanigans can happen with those ballots floating out there. Then they can be counted if they arrive 7 days after the election. Then they can also be cured. If somebody has a mistake on their ballot, they can come in and cure the ballot. In other words, correct the ballot up to 10 days after the election. Jeez. The final certified vote won't be due until July, early July.
So in other words, in California, you have election month, not election day.
You have election month in which people vote in advance. Then you have something called election day where a few people vote.
God.
Then you have election month in which you count the votes. So it's an election season.
God. All right. So Tom Del Beccaro, I'm going to blame this one on you. You were the chairman of the GOP for many years in California. But what John is talking about is truly an outrage, and it's obviously just a road to voter fraud and so on. So what is your take on what's going on in California?
Look, this is what the Democrats want, and they hide under the banner of fairness and justice, but it's wide open. Look, my neighbor still gets 4 ballots in her name. Someone who worked in my office used to get a ballot for someone who lived in the home that she's in 10 years ago. And no matter how many times they tell the registrar that these people don't do it. And so then this is where fraud comes in, because there's a recent law that literally says that the election monitor watching the people count has no right to dispute anything, meaning they just sit there and look and have no right to say a word. So this is one-party rule, and it is mounting frustration. And what you're going to see, Steve, in California is Becerra gain votes, and you're going to see Steyer gain votes, and you won't see Pratt and Hilton keep pace with them.
So putting aside the fraud, which is one of the biggest outrages I've heard in a long time, how do you, Tom, I want to ask you both, I'll start with you, Tom, how do you assess the mood of the California voters? I was just on with Larry Kudlow, and he was reporting that it could be that it might be Tom Steyer and Becerra who are on the ballot, not the Republican Hilton for the governorship, because of all this craziness that's going on with the ballot. But what is the mood of the California voters, do you think?
Discouragement. And in addition to what John says, skepticism, discouragement, because their issues aren't getting met. It's not like the Democrats are curing homelessness. The Democrats blame Trump, but the homelessness, crime, all these things existed pre-Trump. So they're wearing thin. This is the grounds on which a change can be made. And if somehow Hilton doesn't make it, that has to come with voter fraud. Voter ID on the fall ballot. And a national effort has to be brought to bear to getting that passed. Otherwise, this state could do this perennially.
So, John Fund, what's your take on this? I agree. The people that I know who I talk to in California, and I have Democrats and Republican friends in that state, I think they're discouraged. They're dismayed. They think the whole system is rotten, yet they keep voting for the Democrats.
Well, look, Tom is right. We have a voter ID measure finally on the ballot in November. It includes other reforms.
You think it'll pass?
Voter ID passes whenever it's on the ballot. There's no example of it not passing. People of all races, all genders, everyone supports voter ID. It's the world standard. Almost every country in the world requires you to show ID when you vote. And if you're voting by mail, to at least include the last 4 digits of your Social Security number to have a protection on that. So people should not give up yet. And secondly, there's just been a lawsuit filed by Judicial Watch, which forced the County of Los Angeles a few years ago to throw over 1.5 million registrations out because they hadn't cleaned the rolls. This lawsuit says there are 900,000 registrations that have been inactive for at least 2 federal elections. People are voting for some of those ballots that come in the mail to the addresses like Tom described. So I think that lawsuit will succeed because California has accepted federal money for 25 years to clean up their voting processes.
And they haven't done it.
They've accepted the money, but they haven't cleaned up the voter rolls. They are required by federal law to clean up the voter rolls, and I believe this lawsuit will succeed. Voter ID will succeed. So people just keep voting long enough until we get some cavalry over the horizon.
So, Tom Del Beccaro, you've lived in California many years of your life. And I have never lived in California, although I visit there all the time. I think it's an amazing state. I mean, I love the people. I love the weather. I love the mountains. I mean, what's not to like about California? And yet I just don't get how it is when you've got such a discontent, people angry about the direction of the state, and they should be angry. 2 million people have left the state. Why? I mean, why is it that they will not vote for change? I mean, why won't they try something different?
Well, there's multiple aspects to this. California is a very rich place.
Yes.
And many of the voters vote social justice. Their economic situation isn't that bad. The unions, and the demographer Joel Kotkin talks about this, the unions and the upper class. So they vote social justice, not economics. Right. And they're insulated to a significant degree. If you're a union member, you believe you're dependent on Democrats, because a Republican would have the audacity to cut funding elsewhere so that your pension stays alive. So there's a significant aspect of that. There are people who are not voting. There's over 3 million Republicans who don't vote in any one election cycle.
Just they feel it's helpless.
Yeah. Yes, they feel helpless. But can I say something really important that John said to me many years ago about voter fraud? Because you always hear there is no voter fraud. But as John says, no Democrat DA in a state like California is going to make his bones exposing voter fraud or pursuing it. So this perpetuates, and why voter ID is so needed.
Well, Steve, what's really important here is that there is a breaking point. We saw it in San Francisco. San Francisco threw out an incompetent mayor. It threw out several Board of Silly Supervisors members. Right. It recalled the school board. It recalled the Soros-backed DA. And Daniel Lurie is doing a good job as mayor of San Francisco.
Yeah, he's good. Yep.
And regardless of how the final votes come in, it appears that almost every tax increase that was on the ballot, whether it's the CEO tax in San Francisco, the supposed emergency tax in Los Angeles County, the tax on second homes in San Diego, all of those appear to have gone down to defeat, and those will probably stick.
So in our last 30 seconds,
there is a breaking point.
Yeah. So our last 30 seconds, can a Republican win either the mayorship of Los Angeles or the governorship?
Someday after voter ID is in. So that's why it has to be a national effort.
Yeah. John?
I believe that there's a 20 to 25% chance that people get mad enough between now and November that they decide social justice is going to be replaced by common sense.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show. We are on WABC and stations throughout these United States. Thank you so much to our loyal audience for sticking with us. This is our 5th year on at More Money, and our ratings are very good thanks to people like you. And by the way, thanks to people like John Catsimatidis, who was the owner of WABC and gave me my first shot in radio. We also have on, by the way, E.J. Antoni, one of the top economists in the country, works at the chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, works with me at Unleash Prosperity. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. By the way, John Catsimatidis, we got a good jobs report yesterday. It looks like the economy is starting to really heat up again, which is very good news. What's your take?
The economy is great. The problem we have is with the Iranians. And there's 2 sets of Iranians. The joke I tell on my radio show is it's like dealing with the planet of the apes. You got the chimpanzees, the intelligent Persians, Iranians, and you have the gorillas that just want to be agitators and they just want to be killers. And President Trump is trying to make heads and tails with them, trying to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which is very important. Bring down the price of oil, because 10 minutes after we open up the Strait of Hormuz and we have peace, the price of oil comes back down to $55 to $65 a barrel, and it comes back down to under $3 a gallon.
Wow!
And
so that's a huge.
And once that happens, Steve, once that happens, the media is blaming the high prices and inflation. There is no inflation. The inflation comes from a temporary what's happening right now with the price of $100 oil. Yeah. And you got to remember, the OPEC nations and the people that are producing the oil are making an extra $400 billion a month, or maybe much more than that. I didn't do the calculation. But they don't mind waiting another few days, because every few days they wait, they make a lot of money.
So,
and
John,
we got to bring down the interest rates, and we got to bring down the price of energy, and that's the only way. That way, we have a great November.
So when I talk to energy experts, and obviously you are an energy expert, you're in the energy business yourself, people are telling me that it can take several months to get the oil price back down to where it was back in January and February. By the way, it was an all-time low back then. But they're saying that there's been so much damage to the energy infrastructure due to what's happened in the Middle East, and also the fact that so many of the reserves of countries like the United States have been depleted, that it will take a bit, maybe 6 months or so, for that price of gas to really come down. What's your response to that?
That's wrong. Ask President Trump, ask Secretary Bessick. It's wrong. The price of oil will come down within 10 days. Wow.
Okay, you're a newsmaker, John. All right, folks, we're gonna when the fighting is over in Iran and when they surrender, we're gonna have John Catsimatidis on 2 weeks after that, and we will see whether the gas price is back down to. By the way, I was paying $2 a gallon before all this started, John. So you're saying I might pay $2 a gallon again?
I think you would be paying that for sure. 2 weeks, 3 weeks after we have peace.
All right. Let me turn to E.J. Antoni, who is an excellent economist, and he's also a specialist in labor economics. Tell me, and our listeners, E.J., you did an excellent report on this new report that came out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics on the job situation. I see from that report that there were, 150,000 jobs created, but I also was looking at this other indicator that shows there's 500,000 fewer people working today than a year ago. So what is your take on it, EJ?
Well, Steve, great question. Basically, we have a couple different ways that we try to measure the labor market, right? One of which is we ask businesses.
Hold on, EJ, just one second. Hey, John Catsimatidis, you have to mute when you're off. Thank you. Okay. Okay, go ahead, EJ.
We ask businesses, how many payrolls do you have at your firm? And from that, we get the jobs number every month. But then we also survey households, and we ask questions like, how many people are employed in your household? And we ask all kinds of demographic questions and some other things. And so one of the reasons why this was such a good report is because not only did you see the number of jobs go up by quite a bit, over 170,000, but then you had the previous 2 months revised up by over 90,000 combined. So you get over 260,000 additional jobs than the previous level. But then the survey of households showed that for the first time this year, more people were employed. So that's a really, really positive change. And that's where we start talking about the employment level, not the number of jobs, but the employment level compared to a year ago is still down. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for that, some of which is, I think, just statistical anomalies, but some of it also has to do with things like a person can get more than one job, right? I can have a full-time job, then get a part-time job on top of that, and that will increase the number of jobs without actually increasing the number of people employed.
So where are we at right now, EJ, with wages? You know, our friend at Unleash Prosperity has done a report saying, the average median income family income is up about $3,000 over the last 18 months. What's the wage story?
The wage story is still positive compared to when President Trump took office. So that means that your paycheck does go further. the thing that I think has people feeling so pessimistic, Steve, is the fact that since the Iran war started, we've reversed some of that progress. We haven't given it all back, but we have given some of it back. Now, as John Catsimatidis and you were just saying, this is a temporary disruption because of what's going on with the war in Iran. And so once you get all of that sorted out and oil prices come back down, then the temporary inflation shock and all of the associated price adjustments with that, whether it's gas and diesel or whether it's fertilizer prices, et cetera, once all those come back down, then you'll get right back to having wages grow faster than prices.
So, John Catsimatidis, what is going on with all this rich bashing that's going on with the Democrats? You know, we don't want any millionaires and billionaires, and they're chasing out of New York, they're chasing them out of California, they're chasing them out of Seattle. It's almost as if, our businessmen and women who created these great businesses are villains. I mean, you've been an incredibly successful businessman yourself, but Mamdani basically says, we don't want the rich people here.
Well, it's a game being played. And I just told very important people in the media business that the game being played is, let's take Newark, New Jersey. They hire $50,000 worth of agitators to create like a New York play, and they spend $50,000 on agitators, maybe $100,000, and they get $1 zillion worth of advertising on every major network, ABC, CBS, NBC, and guess what? All of America thinks that this is a serious business, but all they are is paid agitators. And the American networks are going along with it. And the FCC, I'm going to talk to the president about it. The FCC has to know what the heck is going on with these guys, because if we don't bring down these agitators that are paid political agitators, they are conning the American public by having all these major networks rebroadcast the play they are putting on.
Well, the other problem, John, as you know, is that when you try to punish people who are successful in business and major employers in New York City, they move out of New York City, and that leaves the poor even worse off and fewer jobs. And unfortunately, that's what Mamdani is talking about.
Mamdani is playing the violin to his supporters. That's what he's doing, because he is a great, what should we say? He knows how to play the game. Yeah. He knows how to he has a zillion supporters on social media.
The word we use for that is he's a demagogue.
Well, he is another Fidel Castro. He's another. He knows how to. It's a different kind of political arena right now. It's a different kind of war. The war that was going on in Iran with these drones, and by the way, the soldiers going into are going to be. They're going to be like the Terminator 1. We're going to have in the future. We have drones that are going in the air. There was drones that are going underwater and coming up out of the air. And in the future, you're not going to have soldiers on the ground. You're probably going to have a Terminator 1s like we saw in the movies.
So, EJ, swinging it back to...
The world has changed, and we have to get used to the war. We got to get used to the new world. And right now, politicians are using social media. The guy in California that is coming up on the numbers. They're using social media, no longer using radio and television, no longer using newspapers, no longer using the United States mail. They are using social media to advertise among their people. And if we don't straighten out the right to vote, American citizens being the only ones to vote, we're gonna hurt our country in a big way.
Well, John, that's exactly what John Fund was talking about earlier on the show, that we have no ballot protection in this country. There's still, by the way, here we are almost a week after the election in California. They're still counting tens of thousands of ballots. We don't even know who's going to be on the ballot in November because of this sickening system. They don't even have voter ID in California.
In California, which is stupid.
It's ridiculous. But I want to go back to EJ on the economy, if I may, because this is what everybody is concerned about. Every single poll shows that Americans are angry about gas prices, about food prices, about healthcare prices. But EJ, I'm seeing vast improvement. I'm looking at some of the numbers, manufacturing making a comeback, construction. The numbers are really good there. Investment by American businesses. And I tie a lot of this to the Trump tax cuts. I think the Trump tax cuts were an enormous stimulus to the economy and creating jobs and creating investment and creating construction projects in the country. What say you?
Yeah, Steve, I'd say given where oil is today, it's a miracle we're adding any jobs at all. So absolutely. Yeah, right. I think the tax agenda has been a big help, but also I truly believe, and I know we've talked about this before, but I think the unsung hero of this administration, Steve, is the deregulatory agenda.
Yes.
They have managed to cut over 120 rules for every new one they've added. I mean,
and by the way, EJ, we're estimating at Unleashed Prosperity $1 trillion of business savings, which is passed on to consumers and makes our businesses more productive and profitable.
Exactly, Steve. That's exactly right. They're getting rid of so much bureaucratic red tape and at such an astonishing pace. Again, to me, that is really that's just the unsung hero, the deregulatory agenda, the unsung hero of this administration. And so I think where the negative sentiment is coming from is the fact that people they did not arrive at this present moment after 4 years of a strong Trump economy. They had 4 years of a lousy Biden economy where prices rose faster than wages. And so once you got Trump back into office, and after not even a whole year in office, he managed to get wages growing faster than prices. So we were digging our way out of the hole. People were feeling better. But now, because of what's happened with Iran and with prices, again, rising faster than incomes, now people who have not yet even dug out of the hole from Biden are falling behind again. And I think that's why they feel so lousy. They're in the hole. They got a taste of what it was like to start digging out. And now they feel like they're going backwards again. So once this gets reversed, I'm hoping the sentiment reverses in a big way too.
I think it will. I think when there's nothing better than creating jobs and higher wages, and that's what Trump is doing. By the way, John, you've known Donald Trump for probably decades. What grade would you give him in terms of his handling the economy? Did we lose John?
Okay, I took it off from you, and I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, Donald Trump is an 11. He is doing everything. Everything is possible.
He's off the charts.
Possible.
Yeah.
So he is running the economy. He's not running it as a Democrat or independent or Republican. He's running it as a businessman.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks, for our final segment of the More Money Hour. Thanks so much for joining. By the way, I want to remind everyone, if you want to be the smartest person in the room, if you want to understand every day what's going on with economics and politics, get our free hotline. Go to unleashprosperity.com and push the button for hotline, and we will send that to you every month over. John, of course, is the president of WABC and a businessman extraordinaire. Okay, John, lightning round. I have two questions for you. Are you ready?
I am ready. And I'm sorry for the noise. I'm sitting in Southampton at the 75 Main Street, and the sun is shining, and it's a beautiful day. And I'd rather be on the phone.
Look, John, the sun is shining on America. Here are my two questions for you. Number one, this is the most important question of the day, John. Can you get me some Knicks tickets?
For $100,000 for front row seats, I can get you a deal.
Well, come on, John. I'm worth it. I've been doing this show for 5 years. But why? Did you watch the game last night, John?
I watched the game last night. It was a great game. They won. We squeaked it out, so I think we're ahead of the curve.
Okay, that leads me to my second question. We literally have 45 seconds left. Can New York City make a comeback like the New York Knicks have made?
The New York City can make a comeback. Never bet against New York. If we all gang up together and want common sense, you got to have common sense in Albany, and you have to have common sense New York City, and New York is the greatest city in the world, and we can make a comeback.
Yeah, it sure has. Well, John, thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to do this show. We are on all over the country. Folks, we will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Have a wonderful weekend and keep working for freedom.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves a match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.